Let's get right into it. Number 10, the Paper Denim. Picture this. It's the mid-80s. You just bought a pair of standard Levi's 501S. These things are stiff, heavy, and basically wearable armor. You could probably drag them behind a truck for a mile, wash them, and they'd still look brand new. They were 100% cotton, weighing in at a hearty 14 ounces, built for gold miners and construction workers. Fast forward to today, and that same iconic red tab feels less like rugged workwear and more like wearing a damp napkin to a knife fight. Here is the betrayal. To cut production costs and chase the fast fashion demand for instant comfort, Levi's, and the entire industry, quietly changed the recipe. They started blending in cheap elastane, spandex, and slashing the fabric weight down to a flimsy 10 or 11 ounces. They market this as added stretch or flex, but let's call it what it is: material skimming. The legacy of this switch is the humiliating phenomenon known as the crotch blowout. While a vintage pair from 1990 is likely still wearable today, your modern $80 jeans are statistically designed to disintegrate between your thighs in less than 2 years. They didn't just change the fabric, they put an expiration date on your pants. Number 9, the plastic heart. Travel back to 1985. You are standing in your grandmother's kitchen, staring at her KitchenAid mixer. That thing isn't just an appliance, it is a culinary tank. It features solid steel gears, weighs a ton, and is destined to be written into her will right next to the house. It was built to outlive her, and probably you. Then 1986 hits. The Whirlpool Corporation acquires the brand and decides that immortality isn't a very profitable business model. In a move of calculated genius, they quietly sabotage the machine's guts by replacing the solid steel gearbox with a single, cheap nylon plastic worm gear. Putting a piece of plastic inside a high-torque steel engine is like installing a screen door on a submarine. It is destined to fail under pressure. Whirlpool defends this as a fail-safe feature, claiming the plastic gear is designed to snap intentionally to save the motor from burning out if you mix dough that is too thick. How thoughtful. But in reality, they simply turned a buy-it-for-life icon into a repair-it-every-year headache. They transformed a generational heirloom into a fragile countertop ornament, ensuring that instead of inheriting a mixer, your grandkids will just inherit the repair bills. Number 8, the sold-out sole. Strap on a pair of vintage Dr. Martens and you feel invincible. For decades, these boots were the unofficial uniform of the working class and the punk rock elite, a symbol of rebellion that could literally kick down doors. You buy them expecting a lifetime partner for your feet, but by 2003, the owners, R. Griggs Group, decide that rebellion is too expensive. Facing bankruptcy, they shut down their British factories and shipped 99% of production to China and Thailand. They took a symbol of indestructible British grit and turned it into fast fashion. It's like a hardcore punk rocker trading their leather jacket for a polyester suit from a discount bin. The quality nosedived immediately. The leather became thinner, the stitching weaker, and the soles, once impervious to acid and oil, started splitting within 6 to 12 months. To add insult to injury, in 2018, they officially killed the legendary for life warranty. They realized that selling you one good pair of boots is bad for business when they can sell you a crappy pair every year. Here is the kicker. The original workers in the original factory are still making the real boots using the old machinery, but they are called Solivare now. If you are buying modern Dr. Martens, you aren't paying for quality. You are just paying for a logo that sold out long ago. Number 7, the ultimate driving betrayal. Imagine you just dropped a fortune on a BMW 3 Series in the late 90s. You are paying for legendary German precision, the ultimate driving machine, a vehicle engineered to dominate the Autobahn at 150 miles per hour. You expect every bolt and screw to be bulletproof, but hidden deep inside the engine block, the engineers made a decision that borders on insanity. To save a few grams of weight and a handful of pennies per unit, they swapped the durable metal water pump impeller for a piece of composite plastic. Putting plastic inside a combustion engine that regularly hits boiling temperatures is like building a fireplace out of chocolate. It looks fine on the shelf, but it is doomed the moment you turn up the heat. The result is a ticking time bomb. Around the 60,000 to 80,000 mile mark, that plastic becomes brittle from the heat cycles and shatters, sending shards into your cooling system. The pump stops pumping, the temperature spikes instantly, and your engine cooks itself to death before you can even pull over. You are left with a totaled engine worth thousands of dollars, all because a luxury car manufacturer decided that a $5 piece of plastic was good enough for their masterpiece. Number 6. The Unrepairable Toy. Go find a vintage Toyota sewing machine from the 1970s. Pick it up, it feels like you are lifting a boat anchor. That is because it was cast iron and solid steel, a piece of industrial machinery shrunk down for your home, capable of stitching through leather belts without breaking a sweat. Now, walk into a store today. To compete with cheap manufacturing, brands gutted the inside of these machines. They swapped that heavy metal chassis for flimsy plastic shells and nylon gears. Trying to hem a pair of thick denim jeans with these modern plastic toys is like trying to cut a steak with a plastic spoon. It is an exercise in futility. The moment you feed it anything thicker than a bed sheet, the plastic gears warp, the timing belt slips, and the machine jams. But here is the real insult. You cannot even fix it. The casings are often molded together or glued, making access impossible without destroying the shell. They took a machine designed to create and turned it into a machine designed to be trash, forcing you to buy a new one every time a 50-cent plastic gear decides to quit. Number 5. The Sandpaper Skillet. Imagine you're trying to fry a delicate sunny side up egg, but instead of a smooth gliding surface, you're basically cooking on a piece of 40 grit sandpaper. That is the frustrating reality of the modern cast iron skillet. If you travel back to the 1940s and pick up a legendary Griswold pan, you'd find a cooking surface ground down by hand until it was as smooth as a fresh sheet of ice. But as the 1950s rolled in, manufacturers like Lodge decided that handcrafted quality was a bottleneck for their bottom line. To keep up with massive post-war demand, they automated the casting process and made a choice that changed American kitchens forever. They simply stopped polishing the metal. They left the raw, pebbly texture from the sand molds right on the pan, calling it rugged. Attempting to get a perfect non-stick finish on a modern rough skillet is like trying to ice skate on a gravel driveway. The jagged surface traps food particles and makes your breakfast stick like industrial glue. This cost-saving move was so effective at ruining the user experience that today, savvy home cooks will hunt through dusty flea markets and pay 10 times the retail price for a 70-year-old rusty Griswold. We've been sold the lie that rough equals authentic, when in reality, it just means the company didn't want to pay someone to finish the job. Number 4. The glass grenade. Imagine you're pulling a bubbling golden brown lasagna out of the oven. You've done this 1,000 times. You set the dish on the counter, and suddenly, boom, your dinner is gone, replaced by 1,000 shards of razor-sharp shrapnel embedded in your kitchen walls. Welcome to the new age of Pyrex. For nearly a century, Pyrex was the ultimate kitchen tank. It was made from borosilicate glass, a high-tech material that could handle extreme temperature swings without flinching. But in 1998, when a company called World Kitchen took over, they decided that indestructible was too expensive for their profit margins. They quietly ditched the borosilicate for soda lime glass, the same cheap stuff used to make jelly jars and soda bottles. Changing a heat-safe baking dish to soda lime glass is like replacing your car's brakes with oversized pencil erasers just to save a buck. It looks fine in the driveway, but it's a disaster waiting to happen the moment things get hot. Today, exploding Pyrex has become its own subgenre of horror stories on the internet. Here's the secret the company won't tell you. Check the logo. If it's all caps Pyrex, you've got the vintage heat-resistant masterpiece. If it's lowercase Pyrex, you're not holding a baking dish. You're holding a ticking time bomb disguised as a casserole. Number 3. The 57-cent death trap. Imagine you're cruising down the highway in your Chevrolet Cobalt. You hit a minor pothole and suddenly the dashboard goes dark. Your power steering vanishes. Your brakes stiffen and you're now a passenger in a 2-ton metal brick hurtling toward a concrete divider. The worst part, because the power is out, your airbags are now officially disabled. Why did this happen? Because an engineer at General Motors named Ray DiGiorgio decided a specific spring inside the ignition switch was costing the company too much. He redesigned the internal pin to be shorter and the spring to be weaker, making it so loose that a heavy keychain or a simple bump could accidentally flick the car from run to off. Saving money on a critical ignition component is like trying to save money on a parachute by using a glue stick instead of heavy-duty stitching. GM saved exactly 57 cents per car with this material change. For over a decade, they stayed silent while the body count climbed, even quietly replacing the part in newer models without changing the serial number to cover cover their tracks. By the time the scandal finally broke in 2014, 124 people were dead. GM was eventually slapped with a $900 million fine and forced to recall 2.6 million vehicles. It's a chilling reminder of corporate math. To some executives, your life isn't priceless. It's worth less than the loose change lost in your couch cushions. Number 2, the Unbreakable Lie. It's 1940. You're standing in a massive crowd of thousands during the legendary nylon riots because a miracle has just happened. DuPont has released stockings made from a brand new fiber that is so tough it can literally tow a Cadillac. You buy one pair and you're convinced you'll never have to spend a cent on legwear ever again. But inside DuPont's boardrooms, the executives are sweating. They realize they've made a fatal mistake. Their product is too good. If a woman only needs one pair of stockings per decade, the company's stock price is going to evaporate. Selling an indestructible product is like a coffee shop selling a single bean that keeps you caffeinated for an entire month. It's a business suicide note, so the order comes down from the top: sabotage the miracle. DuPont's chemists are forced back into the lab to tweak the formula, intentionally weakening the chemical bonds of the nylon to make it sensitive to ultraviolet light and everyday friction. They literally engineered the run into the fabric to ensure it would fail. Because of this calculated betrayal, the miracle fiber was transformed into a fragile nightmare. We went from stockings that could tow cars to fabric so delicate it disintegrates if you even have a slightly jagged fingernail. DuPont didn't just change the material. They pioneered the buy, break, and repeat cycle that has drained our wallets for nearly a century. Number 1, the Lightbulb Conspiracy. It's 2 days before Christmas, 1924. You're walking through the snow in Geneva, Switzerland, while the world is celebrating the holidays. But inside a dimly lit boardroom, a group of men in expensive suits are plotting to make your life darker and more expensive. This is the birth of the Phoebus Cartel, a secret alliance between giants like GE, Philips, and Osram. Their problem? Light bulbs were too good. Some bulbs could easily last 2,500 hours. Heck, there's one in California called the Centennial Light that's been burning since 1901. But to a CEO, a bulb that never breaks is a financial disaster. Intentionally sabotaging a perfect product just to keep people buying more is like a restaurant serving you a meal designed to make you hungrier 5 minutes after you finish. The cartel signed a secret pact to force engineers to use inferior filament materials, strictly limiting every bulb's lifespan to exactly 1,000 hours. They even set up a sophisticated system of fines, where factories were penalized thousands of dollars if their bulbs were too high quality. This wasn't just a change in materials, it was the invention of planned obsolescence. Every time your smartphone slows down or your printer mysteriously dies, you are feeling the ripple effect of that 1924 meeting. We haven't been buying better technology for the last century. We've just been paying a subscription fee for items that are legally forbidden from lasting too long. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.